Hi, I'm Jess Maurer. I am the co-chair of Harpswell Aging at Home, and I'm here today with Stacy Frizzle, who is the executive director of People Plus, and Hugh Hardcastle, who is the head of our transportation committee, the Harpswell Aging at Home Transportation Committee. Welcome, everybody. We are here today to talk about People Plus and their volunteer transportation network. As you may remember, Harpswell Aging at Home did an assessment last summer and fall, and then we talked to a number of Harpswell residents through a series of focus groups. And what we found was that most folks in Harpswell are what we would call transportation sufficient. They have transportation and they're doing well, but about 5% of people over the age of 60 said that they sometimes or always needed help with transportation, and more impressively, 17% of people who are over 80 said that they often or always need help with transportation. And so as we were developing our plan of action to help older adults live well in our communities and age in their homes for as long as possible, we said, well, this is really important that we help those few folks in Harpswell who can't actually get transportation or who are reliant on other people. And so what we did was we partnered with People Plus to help recruit drivers for their volunteer transportation network, and then to get the word out, like through this program and through the Anchor and other ways, about the network, so that people know that there is actually a free volunteer-based transportation network that they can access to get rides around our area. So Stacy, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how your program works.
Well, the Volunteer Transportation Network is run through People Plus, and it started as a program called On the Go. We realized there were people in our community who could drive and have access to transportation, and as you've mentioned, there's a need for somewhere between 5 to 15% of the community that does not. And it's not just in Harpswell, it's also in Brunswick, Topsom. You know, we find it extends as far as people wanting rides to Bath, etc. So the way it works is we partner people that are willing to drive, who we call drivers. They get registered, we do background checks, they get vetted. It's a completely safe situation for someone to have a stranger potentially show up to give them a ride somewhere, because they can rest assured that we've taken care of the background. And then we partner them with registered riders. So we have over 200 registered riders now in the area. We have a number of registered riders in Harpswell. We have 8 registered drivers from Harpswell, which is fantastic. And it looks like we're on target to give probably somewhere between 75 to 100 rides this year to Harpswell and from Harpswell with the resident community. We've already given nearly 50, and we're at the 6-month mark of the year, so that's in the calendar year. And probably that'll equal something close to about 2,000 miles. So what we have discovered in putting together the volunteer transportation program is that Maine Care and Medicare will only reimburse for medical trips to a doctor's office or to a hospital. They won't even take you to the pharmacy. So you can't get your groceries, you can't go to the pharmacy, you can't get your hair done. You know, you lose socialization. As we age, our worlds become smaller and more shut down, and we lack access to a lot of really vital services like food and socialization and exercise opportunities. People will start to, their health will decline, their eating habits will decline, their personal hygiene will decline. Why bother bathing if you're not going to see anyone today? Why get out of your pajamas? That sort of thing.
I have that philosophy now.
Exactly. So as soon as they realize someone's going to come pick them up and take them somewhere, though, they get cleaned up, their energy goes up, the endorphins start to release, so depression is staved off. While they're running errands or going up into town, they will generally have a meal, which might be healthier than something they would have eaten at home, etc. So it really affects all aspects of life, not just the trip to the doctor's office or the trip to the library or whatever it is. It's a sort of more of a full package situation.
Interestingly enough, this week while you were on vacation, I got a phone call from a woman who saw our article in the Anchor and her husband just had a health problem, and he's hospitalized. He's actually now, I think, getting rehabilitation services in Brunswick, and she can't drive. And she said, I need to go see him. I need to take care of things.
Right.
And I can't rely on my daughter to drive me every day.
Every time.
Yeah,
Right.
and so she called You All I Know and is gonna start getting rides, and that's
Excellent.
another good reason.
Fantastic
so,
example.
Main Care, of course, would transport her husband back and forth, but
Right,
wouldn't
but not
transport
her.
her.
But so there's no support
exactly
services.
right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, so it's a wonderful service you're doing.
It is.
And is it free?
It is completely free.
Yeah, that's great.
So the riders don't pay anything. The drivers are not reimbursed. So it's completely volunteer in terms of that. When you think about, if you're down in Harpswell and you've got a car and you're headed up into town anyway, why not get signed up?
Right.
Because so the system, the way it works is our riders call in. They also have an application. They'll call in or email that they need a ride. We ask for roughly 48 hours if we can get it. But occasionally a ride will come in last minute and we'll try to fill it. We can't guarantee any ride request gets filled. But if we have 48 hours, we then send out an email to everyone in their area, to all the registered drivers, to then have a fulfillment. So Hugh is a registered driver.
Yes.
And so can you tell us what will happen on a daily basis? You get a blanket of emails, a slew of them, I would guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many emails. And if it is a situation where I can drive that person that fits in with my schedule, I simply reply accepting.
Great.
And I reply to everybody so that all the other drivers know that, okay, it's
That
been
ride's
accepted.
fulfilled. Right.
And make sure I keep the information. Then I will call the person that I'm driving the day before to make sure they know I'm coming and that there has actually been a connection. And for me, this gets me directions on how to find them.
How to find their house. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And some idea of who they are a little bit.
If they have any special needs or anything.
Special needs. And one thing, sometimes they're walkers. We don't deal with wheelchairs, but
Right.
Walkers or whatever issues that person may be dealing with.
Right.
And whether they are going to have a long visit and maybe I can do some errands. It's not essential that I do a round trip, but usually that's the best way for them.
Right. It's more convenient.
Much more convenient.
Right.
But you get an understanding of what they're dealing with, and it could not be simpler.
Right.
From the driver's standpoint, it is so simple. And as you say, I've gotten a slew of emails. If I can't fit any of the needs, I simply don't respond.
Right. You just
Right.
delete them.
Delete.
Just
Right.
delete
Right.
them.
So what's happening back at People Plus is that our drive line coordinator goes through every morning all of the incoming requests through the course of the day, documents them, sends them out to the drivers, coordinates to let people know that ride has been fulfilled or it hasn't. Or if a ride doesn't get fulfilled, she'll contact the person at 2 p.m. the day before to let them know, we're sorry, we haven't found, last month we actually did not have any unfulfilled
Wow.
rides.
Isn't that great?
It's amazing. And we provided 124 rides last month.
That's incredible.
Through People Plus. Yeah, it's just amazing. So right now, a quarter of our rides and drivers get fulfilled through Harpswell, which
Neat.
is awesome.
That
We're
is good.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a quarter of the rides and drivers is
That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
The other quarter is Topsom, and then the larger half is Brunswick.
Great.
Because that's where the bulk of the people are.
Right.
And people use the ride system for all kinds of different things, like we mentioned.
Good.
It's not just medical. I mean, vital services include access to food, right? Getting your hair done.
Absolutely.
That's a really important thing.
Going to church.
Going to church, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there might be
Although
some church.
that's
It's a Sunday
different-
thing,
It's
it
a
is,
Sunday thing,
yeah.
Well, let's talk about the hours of operation. Actually, we didn't
Right.
mention that.
So the ride line is 24/7, 7 days a week. You can call anytime and leave a voicemail requesting a ride. We do ask for 48 hours advance notice, and the number that people would want to call is the People Plus number. It's 729-0757. They can also email directly to our driver coordinator, Jen Falke, and she is at driver@peopleplusmaine.org. And that's the MAINE spelled out, driver@peopleplusmaine.org. So that's how you would get your ride requested. And you'll have this information when you sign up as a rider. It's in the packet that you receive. But if you're looking to get the application or get the packet sent to you, you know, we can send that to whomever wants to call and get one as well. So people can call and request or email and request 24 hours a day. The line is listened to, the drive line is listened to Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. So when we get on Monday morning, there's quite often rides that have backed up from Friday.
Sure, right.
So, and people know that, they're informed of that going into it. And then as a driver, they are given credentials per se, so that when they show up at someone's door, they'll know you're a card-carrying VTN driver.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
and we have this really cool sign that the drivers get to put in their car. So this allows Hugh to sort of, he's valid per
Right.
se, you know, in terms of he's clearly been vetted. He's there on our behalf. He can park in a little area and wait if he needs to. With this
Yeah.
sign
Nice.
out, the police will give him a little leeway
Yeah.
in terms of
Right.
waiting,
Nice.
loitering per se
Right.
for someone.
Right.
And then we also have access to handicap hang tags
Oh, great.
for any time that you would need to park in a handicap spot to get closer.
Sure.
We went through that process and got about 10 of those. So we're at the point
fantastic.
now where we're about to request 10 more.
That's great.
because we have additional drivers now, especially some
Right.
from Harpswell who don't have handicapped hang tags yet.
Well, and this woman actually asked me, the one that called the other day, she has a walker. And so that would be a perfect example of, again,
Correct.
a person who would need that.
Yep.
I just want to say, I think this is brilliant because older adults really want a trusted source.
Absolutely.
And you're giving them so many opportunities to feel comfortable with the person offering the
Right.
ride to them. So
Right.
that's just fantastic. Now, the rides are only available, as I understand it, Monday through Friday.
Correct.
And
9 to 5.
during
9 to 5.
Yeah.
basically
Yep.
during business hours, normal business hours.
During
yeah.
standard business hours, which is mostly when they would want to be coming to town and you know and doing
Right.
business anyway.
Sure.
And this is for people who are 18 or older and can't drive as of this point in time.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And one of the big questions we get is, do you go as far as Portland?
Yes.
Or how do I get to Auburn? You know, that sort of thing. And we tell people we don't technically go to Portland, we don't technically go to Auburn or Bath,
Right.
but you can still request a ride
Right.
and see.
Yeah.
So
Well-
you never know. We actually do occasionally have something come up where someone had to go to Maine Med,
Right.
and we had a driver that was like, you know what, I've got to hit Portland the next 2 or 3 days anyway. I'm happy to take you.
Sure.
And so we always encourage
Yeah.
people to request the ride with the understanding that it may not
That's right.
come out anyway.
Well, the great part, though, is, of course, we can access. It's nice that Brunswick is really a hub and does have active transportation. I know there's a transition right now, but you can actually get on the bus. You
can.
know, you can get on Concord, or you can get on the train, and you can. I think the Western Trans now has taken on some parts of the Discovery.
It was the Explorer bus,
it's the
yeah.
Explorer bus, right?
And there was
so-
no gap in service, actually.
yeah.
So the Western Trans, the CAP
the
program.
CAP program. So,
has taken
so
that
that's
over.
that's nice. I mean, it's just
Very
nice
nice.
for folks to know. You could actually get a ride from the Volunteer Transportation Network into Brunswick and be dropped at the train station or the bus station, get down to Portland, get on a plane. I mean, in other words, there are multiple public transportation options that now can be accessed through this volunteer
Absolutely.
program.
And even if they get dropped at People Plus, we are a bus pickup
Oh, well, there
stop
you
as
go.
well. So we have meals up at the center. They could have a meal with us. They could come up and play games or something, and then take the bus to do their errands around town. They could get it to the hospital. It goes as far as Sweetser. And
Wow,
Midcoast
that's
Hospital,
fantastic.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other little trick that we tell people, and this is a good one, so listen up. When you get to Midcoast Hospital, the trolley from Bath also stops there.
Oh, cool.
So you
can get to
can
Bath,
actually
too.
get all the way to Bath,
Nice.
and then back to Midcoast on that trolley, then get back into Brunswick into town.
Cool. That's
So
great.
yeah, it's a great tip. You can get all the way to Bath on the public transportation.
That's awesome.
So-
One
which
of
is
the
really
neat
useful.
pieces, though, about this whole program is you don't have to wait for a bus. It's picked up at your house,
Correct.
and you have somebody to help you if it's with groceries or whatever. It's door to door. It really is phenomenal. I was surprised when I learned about it. I'd never heard of it, and all of
Right.
a sudden, wow!
Right.
And I think that's probably true for a lot of people in Harpswell and hopefully we're changing that.
Yes, that's the goal, is to get as many
Oh,
drivers and riders
and
signed up as
riders.
possible.
And with the drivers, it's fairly easy because so many of us recognize how important it is to be able to be mobile. And so, as I did, at some point I'll need it. So at this point I can give it. So it's just paying forward. It's great. Riders, however, there's the issue of trust.
Right.
And I talked to a woman yesterday in her 90s who cannot drive. She's been dependent upon her daughter to drive her around. She has been delaying filling out the rider form. I said, well, you know, if you call in, I'll probably be your driver. Oh, okay, then I'll do it.
Right.
You need
That's
that
fantastic. Right.
personal
Absolutely.
connection.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to be available every time she needs a ride. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Just to once you
Break
get
the
in the
ice.
system,
Yeah.
Right.
it's great. And we
Yeah.
need that person to person to person connection.
That's right.
And you know, so much of it does become about the personal relationship. I hear it time and time again
Right.
from the drivers how incredibly rewarding
Oh.
the job is, right?
It really is.
So-
They're neat people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had one woman who was undergoing chemotherapy, and she was using Brunswick Taxi, and the taxi driver actually took her, told her, you need to get signed up for this VTN
Nice.
at People Plus.
Right.
And she did, and then she started, so this was about 2 years ago, and we put out for her ride, and then the driver realized they were taking her to chemotherapy, and they'd have to be back in 2 hours to get her. And then, she'd be kind of feeling nauseous and all that kind of thing. She ended up getting the same driver, volunteered to just sign me up every week.
Wow.
Would go in and sit with her
No.
through the chemo.
You're
Wow.
kidding.
That's
No,
fantastic.
take her to the grocery store and then get her home
Oh my
afterwards.
gosh, wow.
And it became this wonderful, and they're like lifelong friends.
That's so
Sure.
fantastic.
So
sure.
it's just, I mean, it kind of gives me chills.
I just got
You
chills.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sweetest
Yeah.
thing. So I'm sure, do you have any good stories of ride pickups that are kind of, not necessarily heart-wrenching, but I find they're really rewarding, that you get the best stories when you're driving people?
You do. One gentleman